The following podcast has been brought to you by Audible.com. Sign up now using the URL audibletrial.com/TTV to get a free audiobook of your choosing. We recommend Brick by Brick, How LEGO Rewrote the Rules of Innovation and Conquered the Global Toy Industry. You may recognize this as one of the sources we use in our show, Bionicle Autopsy. Remember, that's audibletrial.com/TTV. Enjoy the show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, sync! Hey everybody, it's Kahi.
I'm Barteran.
And I'm LJ.
And welcome to TTV Talks.
I like how you did the first countdown and like your normal Kahi voice, the one that's not recorded, and then the second countdown that we sync to, you were all like 5, 4, 3.
But then he put a lot of emphasis on like the 2 and the 1. 2, 1.
Yeah,
That's
I know
the last part of the countdown.
Nah, dude, I think you were just trying to sound better than you actually are.
Isn't life about trying to sound better than you actually are?
Hey, Kahi, that's for
That was
the
a pretty
dating
poor
episode
response.
of TTV Talks.
That's for the dating episode. That's going to be a while in coming.
We should have done a dating episode on Valentine's Day. When did we do that? Wasted opportunity.
I said we should do that, and I
Here
forgot
we
why
go.
we did. No,
I said that we should do an idea.
No, I
that
said we
Brian
should do
or
it.
somebody
No,
else thought
it
of.
was. I think it was that they because we wanted to record. We recorded something else.
Okay.
It's like video game.
How's about we agree?
Or something.
We agree on this.
Pop
We will
culture.
do a TTV Talks about pollution on Earth Day. Yeah, that works.
Sure, I'll be on
guess.
that.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, because like Vin's anniversary was only like a week before Valentine's Day too, so we totally could have done that had Vin on.
Yeah.
Wasted
Wow, what the
opportunities,
heck?
man. Wasted opportunities.
Thought it was done. Oh well, better luck next time.
Yeah.
It's not like our fans know anything about relationships anyway.
Oh my goodness, Mark. Yeah, no, they're too busy watching their anime and their cartoon shows.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, can you believe there might be people out there their only experience with relationships just comes from like a TV show? Like that's the only way they know how relationships work is because they've watched a TV
You're gonna make
show.
so many people cry now.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, like there's some shows that just have like a wide array of like people going back and forth. And it's like Friends or like How I Met Your Mother or like a cartoon.
Go ahead.
I'm sure they've got
All right.
experience with like their parents though. Surely unless they've got a single parent, in which case.
The Batman.
I mean a 50% divorce rate.
Yeah.
So
What if both
Oh
of
man,
them are
you're
dead?
right.
Toph was a single mom.
Oh yeah, we never found out who her dad was or her husband.
No, yeah, we did, but like she said something about it, and like
It was just some like
she
random
never
dude.
actually explained.
It was a name.
Yeah,
and
it was
that
like
was about all
Kanto.
we got. It wasn't even a guy in the comics, as far as I know.
Nope, wasn't a guy in the comics.
Yeah.
When it comes to Korra, I kind of wish they had kind of done a bit more on like the original cast, them growing up. They show one flashback with in Korra where like Aang and Toph meet before he's getting the first bloodbender. I forget his name.
Yakone, wasn't it?
Yakone, there we go. Yeah, Yakone. And so we see them grown up for like the first time, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
But I was kind of hoping Korra would show more stuff. But I mean, they had to devote a lot of time to relationships. So
Yeah, which brings us to the topic of the day: cartoon relationship. Korra. Gosh dang it. Korra.
exactly.
What?
LJ.
Why
Come
are
on.
you upset, LJ? What's wrong?
I'm upset
Yeah.
because I really like that show, but throughout the entirety of that show, the actual character of Korra just constantly bit at my nerves.
Okay, that's
Anyone
a fair
else
point.
agree?
It took her. I don't even know if she actually matured by the end of the show. She was kind of a brat the entire time.
Yeah, I think toward the end they really tried to push. See, look, she's trying to mediate, and you guys even told me that. She's like, look, she's trying to mediate things and be an actual avatar with like Kuvira and whatnot, and then it just goes to heck in a handbasket so fast.
She did really. She tried, but she did a pretty awful job of that whole mediating thing.
So it's
Right.
like,
Yeah, it's I don't know. They were trying to make it
get that joke at all.
They were trying to make it appear like she was trying her best to keep everything peaceful, but then Kuvira just forced her hand. But that's, not really. She could have handled it a lot better. She didn't have to start fighting.
Sue kind of forced her hand. I don't think. I feel like spoilers, I guess, for Korra.
Okay, listen, this is going to be a spoiler talk.
Yeah.
If you're watching this and you haven't watched Korra, I wouldn't recommend watching this.
Including the ending. We're going to discuss that too.
We're going to discuss the entirety of the show. So if you haven't been caught up on a season or whatever, then just, I wouldn't advise listening to this.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah. Sorry. But I feel like during the end, when Korra first started, I remember having a discussion with you and Ben, Var, and this is 2011 or 12-ish. I forget when Korra first really came out. There's huge gaps.
Going time traveling.
It's been a long time. But basically, I remember when we first started, I was talking, I was complaining about how much Korra was a brat. And that was the majority of the reasons why I didn't watch the show, or I didn't like watching the show, is I just didn't like Korra. She was not likable to me. And all her mistakes were oh, you're going to make this mistake. You're going to not listen to your teacher when you obviously should listen to Tenzin.
Yeah.
You're going to, do this obvious, broken heart thing.
Wait,
with
so were you
Asami
arguing
and
with us? Were
Mako.
we trying to defend Korra?
You were defending Korra.
Oh, well,
back then.
I'm going to go back in time and punch myself in the face. Korra is an absolute brat.
Whoa, I just got new memories. How did that happen?
It was because it was during the thing where she breaks the airbender thing. There's a circle where all these giant pillars of wood, I guess, are spinning around.
You mean
and Korra gets from
the airbender training platform thing that
the
she
airbender
burns.
training thing, and she just demolishes it. And I was like, oh my god, she's a brat. And then you guys were like, oh, give her a chance.
She absolutely was a brat. I don't know. I'm not really sure if I was trying to defend her as much as I was just trying to defend the show. Keep giving the show a chance.
Probably.
Because Korra is an awful character doesn't mean the actual show itself is bad. Because I remember trying to make that same argument with several of my IRL friends. We were they basically wrote the show off because Korra was such an annoying character. But I was like, there's so much more to like about this show other than Korra. The actual animation and everything and the fighting is really cool. The setting's really cool. So I think that was the argument I was trying to make. Either way, though, Korra was definitely a brat, and I felt that she was a brat throughout the entirety of the series. She never really became a likable character in my eyes. She was definitely easier to handle towards the end of the series run, especially after she fought what's-his-face, bald dude.
Sahir.
Yeah, Sahir. Yeah. When after she fought Sahir and she went through her whole mental breakdown thing, and when she came back from that, I thought she was a bit better, stronger of a character. I actually like the mental breakdown thing. I like that she kind of was like, screw this, I'm going to do my own thing. I thought she was more likable then when she stopped trying to pretend like being the Avatar was the best thing in the world, and that she had jurisdiction over everything and everyone because of it. Where she was kind of brought down and taken off her pedestal, and I liked that.
That does bring up an interesting question, though. Her being the Avatar and her thought process, hey, I'm the Avatar, I got jurisdiction over everything. And then there are people that are like, no, you don't, and here's why. What would convince anyone to take on a person with control over everything, all four of the elements?
That's the thing, I couldn't get sometimes. Sometimes I was like, you know what, Korra, you need to seize control of the situation. And other times, she would push for stuff that wasn't important. And other times, she would, recede back on stuff, and I'm like, no, you should definitely push for that. She would say, the whole thing with not being able to play in that sport, what's it called?
Pro bending.
Pro bending, right? I was like, okay, don't push for that. Don't say I'm the Avatar, I can go play a sport. But when the president refused to send military help to the water tribe, I was like, okay, now you should be like,
now you should be like, I'm the Avatar, you don't listen to me.
Yeah, screw you, man. I can do all this stuff. I'm taking over from this point. That's when you should have done
Korra
it.
was kind of a weird character in that regard. Things that should have been important really weren't important to her, and things that were really melodramatic and really unimportant were important.
So
you need to focus on your studies. No, I'm the Avatar. Oh, sorry about the war thing, but the president has spoken. What am I gonna do?
Korra was definitely a teenager, and it showed in a lot of her decisions and her actions.
I think the best way I can ever describe Korra is that she flip-flopped a lot. like her character, her whole motivation toward things, they flip-flopped all the time, just all over the place.
I'm not sure if it was because her motivations flip-flopped or she just wasn't quite sure what her motivations were to begin with.
Okay, that's true.
I think she just had a lot of maturing, and she kind of just did what she felt was what she should be doing. Like, at the very start of the show, when she was kind of raised to be this big, prominent figure as the Avatar, she kind of just used that and sort of had this, like, pompous arrogance to her. And a lot of her motivation was proving that she is as awesome as people say the Avatar is. And that kind of changed as she realized, wow, I'm really not that amazing. People kind of expect way too much out of me.
And then she went way over and like, I'm not amazing. I'm horrible.
Yeah, and then that flipped completely when she realized that she wasn't amazing, and she went into kind of a depression.
Yeah.
That's kind of a teenage thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a teenage thing.
You think you're invincible, and you're like, I can do all this stuff, and then like something terrible happens. You're like, I'm pathetic. And sometimes it's very easy for people to have both of those going on at the same time. Like, think they're completely invincible and they're superior to everybody, and also that nobody likes you and you're, completely trash and nothing is ever going to work out for you. That is something that
especially with teenagers. That's when the whole rebellious thing starts to happen, and you're like, yeah,
right. Like, I know
better
than my obvious teacher.
Yeah, I know better than my parents who are 20 years older than me and have way more experience in things than I do, because I know what the internet is.
Well, in that case, this doesn't apply here because no internet in Korra.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying, though. It's like she's obviously in that teenage rebellious stage right now, where her opinions and things will flip flop, and she's overconfident one day and then underconfident another day.
Which I mean, that means they did a really good job portraying that, the writers. That just means that she's in a really annoying character, and they chose to portray in a really annoying character for the majority of the show.
Right.
Why would you do that?
I mean, it was just, it's not really, I guess.
I don't think it's that bad, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think it was that bad.
I don't think it's, we say annoying, but the character really isn't annoying as much as she is frustrating for me.
Yeah,
like,
agreed.
Sure,
Agreed.
She can get annoying, but the character is frustrating because I'm like, just, do this. Don't do that, do this. I feel like I'm yelling through it the entirety of the series. That being
Which
said,
is like what
it's
all
not
of her
an
mentors
annoying
felt,
character.
too.
Right, exactly. The character's meant to be this. It's not like she's an annoying character to watch. We have seen that before. Like, it's like a Jar Jar Binks, who is annoying to see on camera.
Right.
Korra's not like that.
Okay, I guess that's fair.
Frustrating
is
actual
a very good way
person.
of
Frustrating, yeah. But, I mean, for me, it was balanced by this series having probably the best villains I've ever seen on a children's show,
This series had a
period.
great series of villains, as well as a great supporting cast. And I mean, it's not really often that we see the main protagonist being that kind of annoying jerk throughout the entirety of its run, We usually get handed, especially with kids shows, that like really goofy do-goody character who's just kind of perfect in every single way with not much to learn or grow upon. Like, I felt Aang had some issues maturing, I guess. He was a bit too silly. But he was just silly. It wasn't like he had these demons that he had to fight to really overcome everything. And he wasn't like, his progression into becoming that amazing Avatar wasn't as frustrating as it was for Korra.
Right. Like, Aang already knew that.
Yeah, Aang already had responsibility.
Knew all the elemental stuff. Right. He had this air of responsibility around him. And Korra did not. Okay. You're so funny.
Well, is it around him or under him? Because of the ball thing. Okay.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah, no, we got it. Yeah. It just...
It's an LJ moment, man.
Well, I think my thing of the villains is that they had all really, really understandable motivations. That's one thing that I
remember this when Korra was originally on the air. I remember having these debates with you because Kahi here believed he was totally on Team Kuvira.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I remember
so
that.
The first one I had, like, Amon, I kind of get where he's coming from, but I mean, I didn't support him. I kind of get where if you don't have bending abilities, having that sense of equality can be a thing.
Amon was too overzealous about it.
Yeah,
he had a decent motivation, but he went into it as a terrorist and he was definitely way too overzealous over that, over those motivations, and it caused you to realize that he was not a good person to follow.
Unalaq was interesting because he was just all around a bad dude.
Yeah, Unalaq was kind of a boring villain.
Yeah, I didn't really feel for the spirits either. However, the whole Rava and
that was the best part of that season.
Yeah, that Avatar 1 is probably one of my favorite episodes of the entire season.
Yeah, that was some amazing stuff. But yeah, Unalaq as himself was pretty crappy character.
Lame.
He was kind of just evil to be evil. He didn't really have any good motivations.
Right.
Who cared about the
spirits?
spirits?
It was interesting that at the end, though, Korra does decide that he's right. And that is not given as much attention as it should be. Because, very rarely in a kid's show do you fight the villain throughout the entire thing. At the end, be like, oh, no, wait, no, I'll just complete his plan after all. Because everybody before me made a mistake.
Right.
I thought that was a neat twist,
it's kind of the same thing with the Mon, where it's like the motivation might have been easy to grasp, and it's a good motivation, but he was just too overzealous about it, and he was clearly a bad guy who shouldn't be handling this.
Zahir was an anarchist, and while I'm not fond of anarchists, it was kind of hard not to agree with him when he kills the Earth Queen.
By the way, on-screen deaths. That
was pretty brutal. I was like, holy crap! They just suffocated that person on air.
Yeah. On air. Off air?
Okay. But is it under her or around her?
But yeah, they... I remember watching that and being like, oh, they're not going to do it. They're not going to... Oh, my God. He's doing it.
The thing...
I thought throughout the entire thing, he's just going to let her go at the end. He's going this is my power. No, he straight up kills her.
Yeah,
I kept expecting him to, I kept expecting him to be like, don't ever face me again. Step down. Nope. Dead.
Yeah. He didn't even give her a chance to be like, okay, yeah, that... You're gonna kill me.
I mean, she's a terrible ruler, though. I mean, I could see his point. It made his point more than just oh, governments are evil. When he's like, this person clearly does not know what they're doing. So, we're getting rid of that.
The thing I really liked about that scene, though, when he does kill her with that suffocation jutsu, that suffocation ball of death. The thing that I liked about that was that he then used that on Korra later. So the big thing about that, though, is that when he uses it on Korra, it's like, whatever. If that scene earlier didn't happen, it'd be like, okay, he's doing some weird suffocating thing. She'll break out of it. Right. But the fact that we saw someone else already get put under this thing and die from it made that so much more important, because suddenly the stakes are higher. You've seen this thing in action. You've seen it kill someone, and now it's being performed on the protagonist, who is already losing this fight.
I felt the Earth Queen was one of those areas where I felt like Korra should have been like, no, I'm the Avatar, listen to me, I'm gonna do this, and you can't stop me because, you're a freaking Avatar. And Zahir went and he took that. I was yelling at Korra, oh, do something about it, and Zahir went and he did something about it. And that was the moment I was like, holy crap, this is a fantastic villain. Okay, yeah. I don't disagree with him.
Zahir was interesting in the fact that I'm not sure, I don't think there was ever a point where I agreed with him, per se. He was very clearly evil to me. But the thing about him was that he was evil in an interesting way. Most villains are usually very obviously crazy. They very obviously have some personal motive, or they're just clearly bad people. This guy, though, he was always calm and collected. He was always super polite, and he just seemed like a good person when he wasn't being his anarchist self. So that was kind of confusing for me, because it's like he's obviously the bad guy. He's obviously doing bad things, but he himself, he doesn't seem like a bad guy, and he even has his girlfriend and everything that he's clearly in love with and stuff.
Yeah, I guess you could. You could
he
say he loved her head to shoulder.
Oh.
Does anybody say that? I don't remember ever saying to anybody like, hey, I love you from head to shoulder. The rest of your body's okay, but I love you primarily from head to shoulder.
Kai.
I don't think
maybe she had dandruff.
Kai.
Okay, all right. Anyhow, back to what we were saying before. I was the progression of these villains ended up with me being 100%. We debated about this. I'm 100% on Team Kuvira. I was and always will be. Well, not always will be. she got kind of wonky at the very end there.
Yeah,
But,
it was clear that she was evil by the end. They kind of lost it at
Right.
the end, but
Yeah, they kind of lost it. And I was afraid they were going to do that, and they did it.
see, I'm not sure if they lost it or if she lost it. I felt that was a good way of like kind of like she was at her wit's end by that point, and I think that she
Right.
definitely had motives that she herself didn't realize she had. It was very clearly her wanting
Right,
power.
right.
But I think that the whole time she truly believed in her cause. But towards the end there, when she was getting all crazy and like her win was so close that she'd just reach out and grab it. That was when her true motive started to show. And yeah, it was very clear that she was bad. When she was going to
personally
just
for
kill
me,
off her husband, I was like, wow, you kind of suck.
Okay, that's a scene I wish, they could have done. I saw a comment on Reddit later when they're like, that scene was, like, you kind of expected that to happen. It would have been just fantastic if, like, what's his name? What was her husband's name?
I don't know her husband's name.
Bahar? Bahir?
Goofy guy with glasses.
It would be awesome if he just said when she called him up and he was just like, we are in the warehouse, across from the village, light us up. It's like, everybody's here, just take us all out. And like, instead of kind of going out like a whimpering, like, oh, she'll never do it, she loves me. Like, if he was like so committed to the cause, he was like, all right, I'm gonna die so that you can commit, you can have your dream. That would have changed a lot and would have made that character much more interesting to me. As opposed to him being like, what? She chose her empire over me? Wow, how could I have ever thought this would happen?
It's such a trope.
It's very common.
It
is. Cliche.
It was pretty cliched,
But, alright, here's why I was on Kuvira's side. Number one, Kuvira is doing the Avatar's job right. She's the Korra I didn't scream at. The Earth Empire is in like all this turmoil, and everybody else is like, well, we're not going to do it. We're not going to seize power because that would be wrong. So Kuvira has now taken the initiative, and she's now building her own empire. But she's doing it in a way that's clearly benefiting these people. These people have, they're saved from bandits. They have regular food lines going to them. As long as they pledge allegiance to her, she's doing everything right. She's advancing technology. She's that speech she gives, where she's like, we're gonna advance all this technology. We're going to make sure, the Earth Empire is reunited. We are going to be, the new superpower.
It is true,
I was
though.
like, yes,
it is absolutely true. All the people that took her side without a fight or anything, and they were just like, yeah, you know what you're doing, and they went on her side, they were treated fine. And they didn't have to do anything. She did all the work for them. They got their food, they had a place to live and everything. The people that fought against her and they were like, no, you're not going to do this, they're the ones who got screwed over. But if they had just all, like, went to Kuvira and was like, okay, fine, you get to be the new leader now, everything would have been fine.
And the United Republic is trying to push the quote-unquote rightful heir, who is clearly an idiot. Prince Wu is an idiot.
Obviously not fit for the job.
Well,
right, and I think the thing that also got me, it's kind of overlooked, and I wish they played up on this more. In the episode where, like, Kuvira's been going around, and they're assuming she's gonna step down as soon as Prince Wu is ready to take the throne, and she doesn't. In that episode, though, they note, they're like, oh, Kuvira has to step down, and Mako asks the president, he's like, oh, what's gonna happen with Prince Wu? He's not, like, I don't think he's all set to lead. And the president's like, don't worry, we are sending United Republic advisors to be with him, and to help him advise and run the country. And I was like, you're doing the exact same thing. You're taking over the Earth Empire, just using him as a figurehead.
Yep.
And Kuvira just did it because, she had the
she was just a different person than everybody else. It's all the same thing.
Yeah, she was just exactly. So the fact that they tried to I wish they pushed that more. Like, they're both really trying to do the same thing, but they're trying to villainize Kuvira for it.
Right.
That's why I was on her side the entire time.
And that's really interesting that you bring that up, because I actually agree with you. That would have been a very more interesting angle to play on, because they were definitely, especially towards the end, trying to really emphasize that Kuvira is not a good person. But at the same time, the people who are you kind of assume are the good people aren't really good either. They're doing the same thing.
And that's that really ties in with world politics, I feel, quite a lot. Like, in world politics, there's no real good guys or bad guys when it comes to, everybody's trying to push their own agenda out. And by making, they tried to push the Republic as the good guys, and then Kuvira's the evil one. Even though, they played it pretty great at the beginning, and then they split off. But Kuvira, I agreed with almost every action up until the invasion of Republic City. I agreed with every action she did.
Yeah. I can't say I necessarily disagree with you. I felt she was a bit too aggressive with her tactics, but it seemed like she had a decent idea.
Right. And, I mean, she was taking responsibility where nobody else was.
I definitely don't
including
think
the Avatar.
When she, like, I forget the place's name, the place that, the one that Sue runs. Yeah. When Kuvira attacks that place, I don't necessarily think that totally could have been avoided. That was all Korra's fault, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I don't think it was Korra's fault. I think it was Sue's fault. Because at one point, they're just there and just said, let's discuss you being the Empire. And so we're going to call a treaty. We're not going to do anything. And Sue's like, okay, we're going to attack her in the middle of the night.
Yeah, okay, no, I agree with you. That was okay, never mind. You kind of, you good point. Which once again, they're villainizing Kuvira for trying to, actually have politics, and then the good guys are the people sneaking in behind enemy lines and assassinating them in their sleep.
Right, exactly. And, like, if Kuvira had done that to Sue, you'd be like, well, Kuvira is clearly evil.
Yeah, exactly.
But Sue literally tries to kill her and during a peace treaty, which they've both declared they will not do anything. Kuvira does not retaliate until then. Now, of course, she did kind of force that confrontation. She did try to force that and kind of, to kind of be like, hey,
but see, this is where I feel like Korra should have been like mediating these two and keeping them calm so they can actually have a real peace treaty. And then they could have negotiated. She should have tried to stop them. But there were never any negotiations. They just went ahead and started attacking each other.
Right, and Korra was just like, yeah, sure, go for it. I understand, and I'm supporting you. Like,
right.
Really? You're just gonna let them do this?
Yep.
And then, of course, once the part when they fight, too, when Kuvira and Korra fight for, like, the first time, and Kuvira gets up and she makes this inspiring speech to her men, like, I'm not gonna ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. And this is how I'm gonna prove my leadership to you. Even though they've come and tried to kill me in the middle of the night, we are going to have a fair confrontation after all that.
Yeah.
And then...
She definitely had honor.
For, like, I don't know about you guys, there's that one point or I'm like, or like they're fighting together, and Korra gets the vision, but it's not clear it's a vision, and you're like, oh my god, there's a second avatar. Kuvira's the avatar, like, because Kuvira, like, the image, okay, when Korra is fighting
I know
Kuvira,
what you're saying, because Korra saw the ghost Korra in, like, image in Kuvira. She saw ghost Korra
in Kuvira. Right, but when she sees it, it's not clear that it's Ghost Korra because she's still dressed in Kuvira's clothes. So it looks like Kuvira entered the Avatar state.
Yeah.
And like, there's a whole, like, for a split second, I was like,
it makes sense because Kuvira is completely handing it to Korra. Korra is losing this battle completely, and then it seems like Kuvira entered the Avatar state.
Right, she was kind of goading her to go into the Avatar state, and I was like, why is she goading her? And I felt like, oh my god, Vatu is back.
There's actually a very interesting reason. Avatar state that killed permanently. Something else about that battle I found interesting is that Kuvira at one point tried to actually kill Korra because like the metal blades.
I noticed that.
Yes, that was incredibly interesting because I went online, I went to the wiki, and I was reading opinions about that. One person commented how she was probably trying to kill Korra to continue the Avatar cycle because after water comes Earth.
So and it would be on their side.
The Earth Kingdom.
Exactly.
Under her.
And, I mean, honestly, I don't have Kuvira. The only reason that, like, people that I disagree with the Thigh Lord is because he decided he would kill a bunch of people as part of his progression thing. But Kuvira is very much progressive minded in terms of, everybody else is clearly an idiot. And because apparently I'm the only smart person here, I'm gonna just take over everything and make sure everything gets done right.
She didn't really kill anyone.
And that's how she started.
She locked people up and forced them into, like, education camps. But she never really
tried to re-educate
anyone.
people. But I mean, what else would you do, right? I mean, like, imagine she has all these bandits, she has all these people fighting up against her. She could just kill them and be done with it. But she's like, no, I'm gonna make sure they're rehabilitated and put into my Earth Empire.
All right.
Devil's advocate there.
Kai, this is starting. You got to be real careful here because this is starting to kind of weigh on a line.
I mean,
say,
obviously,
I'm going to put them in a re-education camp Kahi, it's a bold statement to make.
I mean,
Well, I mean, she could kill them.
He did mention he
these
was playing
people
devil's
are,
advocate, but like, I mean, it's
I'm
lesser.
playing
It's a
devil's
lesser of two
advocate.
evils. Like, if she has, if these people are attacking her, and she, no matter what she can do, she can't convince them that, okay, guys, just let's do this civilly, just join our empire, and they keep attacking. What is she gonna do? Is she just going to kill them, or put them in a camp where they can learn to better behave themselves? Obviously, it sounds bad, but what's worse?
True.
Right. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on at the end of Korra that I really was invested in because I loved Kuvira. But then
it's such a smart show for a kid's show.
Exactly.
Yes.
I feel like it's one of the smartest shows on television, and I'm glad it got to see it all the way through.
Now, LJ, you posted something in the chat. Now, our listeners can't actually see this. It might be added to the video or something. But LJ posted a picture of that one-eyed girl. That was like
Zahir's girlfriend
or whatever, getting like her head exploding.
That's why I said Zahir left her from head to shoulder.
Yeah, I gotta say, some of the on-screen deaths in this show were really brutal.
Okay, basically every single one of the on-screen deaths in season 3 are incredibly brutal. Like that one scene where the no-armed waterbender got electrocuted. It was confirmed later she died.
Right.
That was her being killed.
Man. Yeah, and then just that person's head exploding.
And then the lava bender basically killing himself.
Right. I mean, I like that guy. He seemed to be like, there's this great scene where Mako and Bolin are captured and are traveling with him, and Bolin's kind of like pointing at like, hey, so I bet you two have had a thing before and no one's cared to mention it. And they're like, yeah, I know, like they have like a friendly kind of back and forth.
Yeah, they did.
And they are really, if you think about it, they're kind of like an anti-team Avatar.
Yeah,
like they have.
That's what I really like about the. That's what I really like about these villains, though. It's just that they all seem to have personalities. They're bad guys, but they're also people. They're not just the bad guy.
Right.
Unlike Unalak, who I felt was basically just a bad guy, just to be a bad guy.
Unalak is pretty bad, but like the lava bender, I forget his name, but he seemed really proud of Bolin when he was like, "Oh, you can lava bend, dude! Nice. I'm glad you're able to figure that out."
Yeah.
And then he killed himself. But
well, everything was going great, and then he killed himself.
But yeah, so villains cool. Mako pulled off some cool thing against
the choreography. I can't even. It's great. You need to see it. If you thought Avatar: Last Airbender was good, the choreography and fight scenes in
and the animation,
Legend of Korra, and just the animation as a whole.
Honestly, the animation in this
fantastic.
show, a lot of the fight scenes are better than a lot of the animes I've seen.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say.
Because like I've seen some pretty decent anime fight scenes, but a lot of the times the animation can be a little choppy sometimes. I've never thought any of the animation in this show is choppy. It always felt really smooth.
Right. And I mean, some of the stuff they're doing is so complex and fast paced, and you're just in awe of it. Like there's name it. Okay, I'm trying to name like thinking of all my favorite fight scenes from Korra.
Oh, I couldn't do that.
I couldn't do that either. I was pretty much
so many of them.
Basically,
the final
anytime
scene with
Kuvira,
everybody fighting against
anytime
Zahir.
Kuvira was on screen fighting anyone, that was usually a really good
Kuvira,
fight.
that was amazing. When she fights against Sue, where they try to disable the cannon
then
and stuff.
Sue does like the armor and everything.
Right, she does the armor, and like there's one point where she punches Kuvira off the railing, and Kuvira snags the back of the railing with like her I don't even know what to call it, like her metal arm, I guess, her metal talon knife thing, and she does a backflip and goes, "Oh my god!" I had to watch that several times. It was amazing. Anyhow,
but
we're going on and on about this show.
There is one thing I wanted to hear from you guys. Because I think there's one last thing that I'm not sure if we agree on or not.
Oh boy.
So,
right.
The final episode of Korra. Something was kind of established or confirmed for some people. And it wasn't any Mako Korra, huh?
Yeah, it was confirmed later on by the show writers on their personal blogs. It was without a doubt confirmed.
Korra Sami.
Right.
This is
How do you guys feel about that? See,
here's what I feel.
For me, it was easy because
I know.
I had been
We
shipping
talked
those
about
two
this. We talked about
all
this.
season. It was actually hilarious because you guys were ahead of the show than me. So I was several episodes back, and both Kai and LJ had I guess already had finished the show. Because I remember being like watching one episode and being like, wow, they're spending a lot of time on Korra and Asami right now. I totally ship these two. And LJ was just like, keep watching.
He was like,
You
keep
joke.
watching the show.
See, when we discussed this afterwards, after VAR finished everything, when the three of us discussed this, I was of the opinion that caught me off guard. That like hit me out of left field because I didn't see that. I didn't see that at all. I didn't pick up on anything, and if they were leaving any hints, I sincerely did not see them, notice them, or pick up anything on radar about that.
Right.
So it really caught me off guard.
It seemed like it came out of the left field for you.
Yeah, easily.
For me, I had been shipping them for several seasons, so I always picked up on anything that seemed like they were brewing something. I was like, yep, I ship these two.
I guess the most confusing part was in the earlier seasons when she was having that whole foray with Mako. So that made it even more out of left field. But what about you, Kahi?
This is my perspective on things. I don't mind, like, I guess for me, I don't like it when people try to make a statement, kind of, not just to make a statement, but kind of like to try to do something new but like try to give themselves a way out. And I kind of wish they had really 100% committed to it or left it off, as opposed to like, I guess for me, it felt like the creators like put it in and they're waiting for the reaction. And as soon as the reaction was overwhelmingly positive, they came out and they're like, "Oh no, we've always planned this."
I see what you're saying.
But if it had been like overtly negative, if people had been like, "No, I don't really like how it ended," then they would be, it would be
they're
a
just
bit
like, oh,
more
they're just
lower
friends,
key.
guys.
Right, they're just friends. Like they gave themselves an out, and I wish they either had gone fully at it or just not done it.
Actually,
Right.
I
see
that's
what you're
actually
saying.
interesting you bring that up, because when I originally saw it, I really didn't believe it. I thought it was just, oh, yeah, they're good friends. They're going to go take a vacation. I took everything absolutely literally because, it's like you said, they didn't go whole hog into it.
Right, exactly. And I mean, okay, it's a bit of a touchy subject.
Very.
But I mean, okay, personally, I don't have a problem with watching a show that has characters that do something that, even if I don't agree with it personally, or even if I do agree with it, I feel like just having a character with a wider range of worldviews is great.
Right. You should be able to like the characters for their own
You should be able to
merits.
consume media, right, based on their own merits, based on what they're thinking, regardless if they do stuff that you agree with or not, because I've disagreed with Korra this entire season. So it's not like this one is like, all right, now I've been screaming, I've been like, so even if whatever you agree, you disagree with, whatever political, we're not going to touch that, but political or, whatever, that shouldn't affect how you enjoy a show. However, I don't like shows that try to do a statement, and the statement is more important than what they do with the characters. And I feel for this show, they had properly built up this kind of, this embedding relationship between Korra and Asami, but they didn't commit to it.
Right.
They kind of chickened off at the end, and they tried to push it. Granted, the network, I get all that.
Yeah, I read the whole blog entry about the network and how they had to be careful about that. But I get what you're saying. It was a bit too obscure, and they kind of tippy-toed around it a little bit too much. And considering that Korra is the main protagonist, the show's literally named after her, we shouldn't have to be guessing whether she's in a relationship with another character or not. She's the main character. We should know this.
Right.
It should be a definite answer. So I get how that can be kind of annoying or frustrating when it seems like they're kind of tippy-toeing around this because they're afraid of the reaction it might get. So I absolutely agree with you. It would have been better if they had just been like gone all out, like, yes, this is exactly what is happening right now, instead of kind of keeping it so obscure and having people guessing.
Very PG.
Right, and kind of like doing...
Yeah, they're very PG about it.
They came out later...
It still feels like they have something to hide.
Right, exactly. They're trying to, there's something afterwards. That's why I kind of wish that there's a season afterward, not just because I love this show, I'd like to see it continue, but I'd like to see how this relationship would impact the characters, because creators have, confirmed it's canon in their blogs. I'd like to see how the relationship impacted the characters, how it affected the relationship with other characters. Seeing that play out, I would be really interested to see that. I'd love to see that. been on screen. And the fact that kind of like, I didn't throw it in last minute, but they kind of threw the reveal in at the last minute.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I mean, they did it with with Avatar too, or like Zuko's like, "Where's my mother?" I feel like it's kind of like that, where it's like this new plot thing, this new development, and you're like, "Wow, I want to see what happens with these characters. I want to see where they go," and they're like, "That's just the end of the show. Sorry."
All right.
And they totally could have made the second series not even about Korra, but just about that. I mean, I'm glad they went with the Legend of Korra. I'm glad we got this time skip. We got to see how all the characters from the first series matured and changed, like Zuko and Katara. And
can I just say I absolutely love it when there's time skips?
Yes, I love it.
Sometimes it depends on how it's handled.
Yeah,
it's very
fair
jarring
enough,
at the beginning.
All right, fair enough.
I don't know. So far, anything that I've ever watched that has a time skip to it, I've enjoyed it. I enjoy seeing these characters kind of grow up and how they are. I mean, I also like it when you follow them throughout their whole growth cycle too. I just like watching characters grow. Like Harry Potter, for example, you're with that kid when he's 11 up until he's an actual adult.
Right.
And I think that's really cool, just seeing how a character matures over time, or comparing and contrasting how an immature character is suddenly a mature character now. I like that.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite things of Harry Potter too, how James grows up, and I feel like it works for Korra as well, because there's Bolin especially grows up quite a lot in between these few gaps.
Bolin's great. And
Bolin starts off as he's a goofball, he doesn't do anything really, and he's kind of he's kind of living the shadow of his brother. And when this time skip happens, he's on his own path, he's doing all this stuff with Kuvira. Even though he changes it later, he feels like he has his life figured out.
It's actually kind of ironic, since you think in the first season it seems like Mako is the one who has it all made. He's going to get the girl and everything, and then at the end of the season, Bolin's had 10 relationships now. He's got a stable one, and Mako's just alone. in the friend zone for life.
He literally
double
he's
friend
so
zone.
Bad.
He's so bad
at
his
relationships.
ex-girlfriends are now dating.
Right, it's that's how bad he was. They're like, I can't deal with guys anymore. I'm done. It's just this guy was so bad. Ugh.
Oh man,
I would see. That's I'd like to see his reaction to. There's so much stuff they could have done after that reveal. I mean, I feel like they kind of.
Mako knows. He has to know at that point, though.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure all the characters know by this point, but actually visually seeing what would happen in a story, an episode, an entire episode devoted to
just those three. They have to have a mission where it's Korra, Asami, and Mako in one setting, and they're just alone.
Well,
that would be funny as heck. They have to go camping out or something, to scope out a place, and they have to spend the night together.
You could cut the tension with a butter knife.
That would be so funny.
Oh, that would be great.
But
all right.
So I guess, does this really answer your question, Var?
Yeah, I think it's a bit more clear.
Yeah,
all makes sense now. I can see where you're coming from. I liked it. I thought it was handled okay. I saw all the things, but I can definitely understand. It did seem like they kind of tiptoed around it. I understand why they tiptoed around it a little bit after reading the blog entry. If you haven't read that blog entry, if you follow the show and you haven't read that blog entry, I think it's definitely worth a read. Because it does explain a few things in regards to that decision. But yeah,
actually, I haven't read the blog entry, so right now it seems very awkward that they tiptoe around that, but they visibly on screen kill two characters. You see the life leave them.
Yeah, okay, that was something. I was out of all the stuff that you were afraid to show, were you really afraid to show two characters getting together? Was that the
yeah?
Right.
But,
I mean, obviously for the network,
an old elderly lady being suffocated and an armless lady being electrocuted. No, that's okay. The disabled, fine. Handicapped, all right.
Right, you're oh no, they, kids see disabled people get killed all the time. But man,
oh my gosh,
I don't know if they can handle.
I
don't know if they can handle Korrasami.
It just seems like, not reading the blog entry, it seems a little funky.
No, I mean, it's basically, you're just saying the network wouldn't have
it was basically Nick's fault.
But they wouldn't, they'd allow... fine, okay, whatever.
Well, I mean, no, let's be real here. They probably wouldn't have. They already took Korra off TVs. So
yeah, that is... Which, however, they did air the episodes. The episodes eventually did hit the
Oh,
network.
did they? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was after the fact, though.
Because, yeah, it definitely seemed like Nickelodeon was not on Korra's side here.
Right. That was
were on
pretty.
It
Korra's
seemed like
side
they were
from the
trying to screw
get-go.
that show over a lot.
They weren't on the Korra side from the get-go. They didn't even want a female protagonist until, I think, focus groups thought, oh, yeah, this is great. Like, the male audience thought, oh, yeah,
Right.
she's cool.
Oh,
Which is,
Nick.
it's sort of, I mean, both networks, like both Cartoon Network and Nick, have made terrible choices when it comes to this kind of thing recently. They canceled Young Justice.
Cartoon Network's
they've
made a
walked
lot
over-
of mistakes a lot of the times recently. Like the past 10 years, Cartoon Network seems to have really lost their grasp
Oh, wait.
on things.
Over 10 years, over a decade, a network maker. Hi, Firefly.
Let's not talk about Firefly. Thank you very
I'm going to
much.
hear a lot of cringing in the comments.
Okay, that was
for
an awful
one.
show anyway.
Still not over it.
Var, no!
Okay, Var.
Firefly wasn't afraid to show what Korra was.
Yeah, Firefly wasn't afraid.
They didn't have to tip around.
Yeah, well, either way, I think
Oh, boy.
the majority of that show is fantastic. The animation, a lot of the characters, supporting crew, the villains was absolutely fantastic, but I definitely agree with Kahi that the ending was very malhandled. I get it.
I think it was very malhandled, but it could have been
Huh?
better.
Okay.
It could have
Could have been handled better. I liked it. It was fine. So
Yep.
I got
All right,
what I want.
well,
My shipping came through. So
Kind of like the show. All good things have to come to an end, and I think we've kind of overstayed our
yeah, this has been a really long
our
episode.
welcome. It's been a really long episode. It's a special episode.
Yeah.
I mean, Korra is really important because I feel it's everything I want Bionicle to be.
You
Like
said that about
Avatar and Korra are everything, especially Korra, I guess.
Avatar and Korra
It's-
are the same thing, but different.
But,
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
So, again,
but I definitely agree with you. I think Avatar
yeah.
is a great example of how I would like a Bionicle show to be handled.
yeah.
But
Right,
we all know it's
since
going to be CG.
It's back. You can't always get what you want, et cetera, et cetera.
No, I'll be 2D, guys. Come on.
No,
Online
wrap us up,
animations.
Kahi.
All right, cool. Thanks for joining us for TTV Talks. I'm Kahi.
I'm Veteran.
I'm LJ. What the heck ending is this?
This is the ending of the episode.
Go to the TTV
We will
Message
see you
Boards.
again
Go to
next
the
week.
comments. Discuss. What are your guys' thoughts and
Oh,
opinions?
yeah, of course.
Jeez, Kahi.
I mean, we're
Well,
gonna.
I'm taking it for granted that they're already composing an angry letter to us after the discussion that we just had in the comments. So
Fair point. All right.
you guys can go do that. You can do that. Contribute
You know what
to my Indiegogo campaign.
You should. Whenever we read a negative comment, we should just read it in our LJ voice.
Oh, here we go.
We should. The LJ voice and my internet voice are exactly the same. But yeah, you guys should go do that. Comment.
Bionicle autopsy?
Oh, here we go.
Why don't you have more Bionicle content?
Where's the recap review?
Okay, well, before we offend even more of our viewers, Kahi, close it.
I closed it. You were the one that interrupted my closing. I was saying goodbye.
too much
Goodbye, everybody.
information.
We're done. Cut it out. The network is shutting us down. We're gonna end in this cliffhanger.
What did we show?
Is LJ Excelina a thing? We'll never
We
know.
showed Kahi and LJ
Cancel.
holding hands.
And we're done.
Okay, that's when we're gonna edit that part out.
All right, sync us.
That's a crack shit nobody wants to do.